Hi, today we're going to talk about articles. Articles are these small words that go in front of nouns, and they can sometimes cause big problems. They are a, an, and the. Now, what we've got to do is to choose noun by noun which article we should use. And there's a few rules that we can apply to help us make this decision. In fact, there's 4 decisions we've got to make. Although there's only 3 articles, there's also a 0 article, which means we don't use any article at all. So we've got 4 options to make. Now, with native English speakers, they don't need to worry about this. It comes naturally. They've been doing it all their lives. They don't need to think about it. If you're not a native speaker, it's a lot more difficult, especially if your original language does not have articles. So let's explain a little bit about what these articles are to begin with. A and an are what's known as indefinite articles. And by indefinite, what we mean is that either we don't know or we don't care whatever noun that they are representing. So if they're in front of a noun, then in this case we don't know anything about the noun or which noun, or we don't care. Okay, so for example, if I asked you, can I have a pen? I'm not fussy, I'm not particular about which pen, just give me any pen, please. So it's an indefinite article. And the opposite is with the is definite article. And so we're specifying exactly which noun we are talking about or would like. So pass me the pen. I'm being specific. I might point at it, or I might give a further indication of which pen I'm talking about. Pass me the red pen. So it's specific. Let's look at some examples. Okay, so the thing about choosing the correct article is that if you don't, you might confuse the meaning of what you're trying to say, and it really depends on context. So 2 sentences that are exactly the same except for the fact that they use different articles. So we've got in the first sentence, after a long day, a glass of beer tastes particularly good. So we've got the indefinite article used twice here to describe the day and to describe the beer. In the second example, after the long day, the glass of beer tastes particularly good. Now they're very, very similar, as I said, aside from the fact that they use different articles. Got 2 different pictures here. Which one represents the sentences above? Well, you've got this chap who looks very chuffed, very happy to be drinking his glass of beer. He's in business attire, so we can assume he works in an office perhaps. Maybe he's had a long day and this particular beer tastes good. So it would be the bottom sentence matches this picture. So he's specifically referring to the long day that he had that day, and he's also referring to the glass of beer in his hand. So that glass of beer is right there. The first sentence, however, is more of a general statement. So again, we've got the indefinite articles, so they're not being specific to a particular day or a glass of beer. This lady in her office is just thinking in general terms, after a long day, a glass of beer is good. Now, has she had a long day today? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't look like it. She looks pretty relaxed. So it could just be a general statement. And any glass of beer tastes good after a long day. She's just visualizing, thinking about this beer at work. So it's not specific. So we've got, using the definite article, we're being specific. Indefinite article, we're not. One way we can help decide which article to use is to find out if the noun that the article is going in front is countable or uncountable. And simply put, a countable noun is something that you can put a number in front of, that you can count, and an uncountable noun is something that you cannot count. So let's look at some examples of countable nouns first. Books. Nice and easy, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we can put a number in front of it, 5 books. Therefore they are countable. Ooh, we need a plural. Okay, different objects, but we can still count them. We've got brass instruments, perhaps tubas, so we've got however many, let's say 53 tubas. Again, we can put a number in front of them, so they are countable. And in this example, we have 19 people, so people are also countable. 19 Elvis impersonators, 19 people, and we can count them. Okay, so now let's have a look at some examples of uncountable nouns. Well, we can go back to the music shop with the guy playing the tuba, and we could say, yeah, we could count the guy there, we could count the tubas, as we said before, we can count that light in the background or that window to the side. What we can't count is what comes out of those musical instruments, and that is music. Music is an uncountable noun. It is a thing, but it's not something that we can put a number on. You don't have one music, and you don't have musics, or 16 musics. It doesn't work. We just have an uncountable noun there. Back to the Elvis impersonators, you can count them, and you can count the amount of costumes and wigs and sunglasses they're wearing. But what you can't count is, let me get another pen here. Fun. You can see them all smiling, having a good time. They are having fun. Fun can be used as a noun. In this case, it is, but we can't count it. We can't say funs. We can't put an S on the end there. No, no, no. Can't do that. You can't say one fun, two fun. It doesn't work. So this feeling is uncountable. All right, and the last example here is to do with liquids. We can't count liquids mostly because they don't come in containers, or if they do come in containers, we count the container but not the liquid itself. That's not what we're counting. So we could have a glass of water, one glass of water, then we could count. But what we're effectively doing is counting the object that carries the water or the liquid, and not the liquid itself. So you can't say one waters or two oils. You can't do that. Right. So some of the rules that we can follow in order to know what to do with articles with uncountable nouns. Firstly, let's get a pen here. Oh. We cannot use the articles a or an. You might be asking yourself, well, what's the difference? Firstly, anyway, what a and an are? Well, put most simply, we use a and an in the same place, but the following vowel affects which one you choose. So let's say let's say I had an apple, I had an apple. Why did I choose an? Simply because the noun here, apple, starts with a vowel, and vowels are A, E, I, O, U. Okay. If the word that follows the article is a word that starts with a consonant, let's say I have a cat. C is a consonant, it's any other letter in the alphabet besides A, E, I, O, U. Then we begin with just the A. Okay. This also can be when we have a noun that has a vowel sound. So it might start with a consonant but has a vowel sound. You could say, for example, he's an honest guy. He's an honest guy. You'll notice that we used an, and that we should only use that with vowels. Well, in this case, the H in honest is silent. It sounds like honest, not honest. So the O is a vowel, and therefore we use an. Okay? Okay, let's look at some of the rules for uncountable nouns. We never use the articles a or an, as I said before. We cannot have plurals, so no S, and no numbers. If there is no article with an uncountable noun, then it equals basically a general statement. So I might say something like, food is great. Right? No article, food is great. So I'm just saying a general statement that I like food, basically. Any and all food is fine by me. If we do use an article, the only article we can choose from is the. So if I say something like, the food is great, then it equals a specific example. Okay, so if I said the food is great, the context would most likely be in a restaurant or somewhere where you're eating food, and I could be tasting it and saying, yeah, the food in this restaurant is great. The food is great. So I'm being specific. Okay. So let's look at some examples of these. So, again, if we have an uncountable noun and we don't use any article in front of it, it's just a general statement. So in this case, we can make a question out of this statement. Do you like music? The person is asking, do you like music in general? Do you like listening to all kinds of music? And it sounds as if, or looks as if this mouse certainly likes music. Now, let's look at another example. We've got the uncountable noun here, help. This person requires help. There's no article in front of the word help. There's no a or though we never use a anyway. It wouldn't make sense even if you did. It's a very general statement. This person would take any help that was offered. Do something, help me. There's a huge shark about to eat me. Any help would be good. But let's stick with the theme of music. So what if we wanted to put an article, the, in front of do you like the music? Well, it needs to be a specific situation. So in this question we've used the article, do you like the music? So we need to have music in order to decide whether we like it or not. Okay, so I googled the worst music video ever, and this is what came up on YouTube. You be the decider. Is it the worst music video ever. I don't know, it's certainly top 10. But back to the question, do you like the music? I'm asking about this music, not any other music, just this music. Do you like the music? I would probably say no. And lastly, because we can't officially count uncountable nouns, we use phrases to give values on the noun. So it is counting basically, but it's a less specific way of counting. It's quite general. So again, with the same idea of music being the theme here, I have a lot of music. We don't know how much music, but we know it's a great deal. It's not not a small amount. So maybe this is someone's CD collection. That's would be considered a lot of music. Now be careful with which nouns you use with these phrases, because some work and some don't. So we could use, obviously, a lot of music is fine, sure. A lot of music, yeah. A piece of music, you might not have heard this phrase used very often, but if you had a written form, notation, something a musician would read to play music, then you could have a piece of music. A bottle of music? No. A grain of music? No. A bottle, it tends to be things like liquids. A bottle of milk, a bottle of beer. A grain of tends to be things, small particles such as sand or dust or grains. Let's look now at the countable nouns and the rules that govern how we use articles with them. So it's the opposite of the uncountables. We are okay to use, I need to find the right color pen here. We're okay to use numbers. Are okay. Yeah. Plural. Also. Okay. Needs an article. If singular. So the example I was thinking of would be a phone. That's a cool phone. We've got an adjective in here, cool, but we could take that out and the sentence still makes sense. That's a phone. Very simple sentence, but it still makes sense. We need to have an article of some kind here, in this case, the indefinite. That's a cool phone. So we need an article if the noun is singular. If we don't use an article, so no article, if plural. It becomes a general statement. So equals a general statement, all or any. So we keep with the idea of phones. Phones are cool. All right. So we've got a plural here, and it's a general statement. I like all phones. Phones are great. Phones are cool. One more. Let's clear that. When we introduce a noun for the first time, whether we're speaking or we are writing, first time we use a or an. Pretty much always. There's a few exceptions, but first time we talk about something, we use a or an, and after that, second and third time, whenever you refer back to that noun, we must use the definite article, the. The is used after. Okay. The exception being when it is obvious what the speaker is talking about. So unless it's not obvious, or that we can see what the person is talking about, then we always start with a or, and then follow with the. Let's look at some examples of these then. Okay, so we got a kind of strange looking guy with a cat. So we got a nice statement here. He has a cat, so we've got a singular countable noun here, and we've had to use an article. If you took the article out, that would be grammatically incorrect. He has cat. It's not good. Okay. And we could turn this into a general statement. Cats are lovely. Yeah, maybe this little guy is thinking about that. Oh, cats are lovely. Or I love cats. Yeah? So in this case, we've taken away no article here, no article here, and we've used the plural. And so we're talking in general, cats are lovely, they're great, he loves them all. Okay. Next example is when we introduce it for the first time. So this time we're introducing the topic of a car. Let's make a different color here. I bought a car. This is the first sentence. After that, the car is awesome. I love it. So I bought a car. Now, first time. Second time, we need to use the definite article, the. Last example from here is when both parties or everybody knows exactly what the noun is and what they are talking about, then we don't have to follow that rule about the a or the an before. So it's obvious to the guy who owns the car, and it's obvious to the guy who wants the car, which car they are talking about. As I said earlier, there are some exceptions. Unfortunately, there's always exceptions, which makes rules a little bit annoying. And they are that some nouns can be both countable and uncountable, and coffee is an example of one of these nouns. So in the first example here we have coffee is great. It's a general statement. We know that because there's no article, but the coffee here is coffee that is uncountable. The difference in the second example is this chap here, we can't really see who he is, but he's referring specifically to the coffee that he has in his hands there. The coffee that he has is great. So in this case, it's countable. That's uncountable. And again, in this example, a coffee would be great is a rather general statement, and somewhat confusing in this context. So if this guy walked into a cafe and I said a coffee would be great, the staff might be a little bit confused because there's lots of different choices there. They might ask, well, okay, which one? Oh, the cafe au lait, please. So you'll see that it can be a bit confusing, and the rules that we've just discussed don't necessarily apply to nouns that are both countable and uncountable. So beware of these nouns, otherwise you should be okay. Thanks for listening.